Warning: the following podcast show that you're about to listen to will include explicit language and content in which you, the members of the audience, may find offensive. Audience discretion is advised.
Welcome to another episode of the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience.
Yeah, boy.
Where anything and everything is a subject matter on the show, and no subject matter is ever taboo.
Damn, that's what's up with you.
And now, your host with the most, Mr. Kim Hoang. Bro, am I getting paid for this?
Yo, what's going on, everybody? How in the world are you? This is your boy Kim Hoang, the Asian sensation. Yes, I am the man with the plan, the host with the most, the man that has the power that can bring it less than an hour, maybe even more or less, we don't know, and the dude with the right attitude. And we're here. Another great episode here for you guys of the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience, coming at you live in Wheaton, Maryland, over at the Prototype Studios. And it's lovely. It's lovely. It's great to be here. We came in a little bit with some issues, some technical issues, but now we're recording. We're back on track. We have zero distractions. I just made sure personally that I locked the door of the recording studio, so that way, paparazzi's trying to get in or whatnot, we're not having that, because we're sticking right here. We're doing what we do, and it's going to be incredible. It's going to be wonderful, and I'm glad that you guys are here to be a part of it. As always, I've always said this before, and I'll say it again like a broken record, how much I am appreciative of you guys actually coming over to listen to our content, to support our podcast, to spread the word out, whether if you do it in person or via social media. It is incredible. It is wonderful. And I definitely feel the love. I really do. I feel the love and I feel the support. And here's a little secret for you guys. If we have one new member of our audience that, liked, followed, and subscribed, to me, I feel like that's a win. A lot of people measure a lot of success by the numbers and how much money you make and so forth. I don't believe in that stuff. I really feel like when you do that, it doesn't really have true meaning. And I feel like that's unnecessary added pressure that one could, be in. Let's not put pressure on ourselves. Let's just stick to what we do, stick to what we know, do what we love, and that's it. That's the bottom line. And, today, obviously, I'm doing something I love, podcasting. Lots to talk about, lots of things to drop in. And I'm going to set it off, you know what I mean? Because recently I've gotten some requests, and people have been telling me about, you should talk a little bit more about the stuff that you did before in the terms of the promo marketing industry, specifically speaking about how you were an assistant tour manager and a tour manager, and we should really get some words of wisdom from you, if you can drop some knowledge and some advice and what you think and all that stuff. And I thought about it and I was like, yeah, I think they're really onto something here. I think they're really onto something, and I really should address that, you know what I mean? Because there might be some people that are, might be new on the block in terms of, getting those type of positions and whatnot, and they don't know what's going on and what to expect. Well, let me drop it off to you guys. I mean, obviously, when we are in the marketing and promo industry, the level entry position that we get is a brand ambassador, right? Brand ambassadors are kind of like, the people that you see out there in the retail stores. They're like the regular associates. You know what I mean? They're the regular associates. They're the ones that are repping the front lines, and people see them, right? And they're like the face of that organization. You know what I mean? And it's cool because, it gets your face, it gets your face noticed. And it gets your foot in the door in the sense of like, hey, I'm doing this. This is cool. Boom, we're in there. Cool. But when it comes to like wanting to do, traveling and being in, promo tours, marketing tours and stuff like that, that is, kind of like what we aim for, because it's a bigger position, it's bigger pay, and it gets your face recognized a little bit more quickly. You know what I mean? So what happens when you get in, when you actually get accepted? Well, first and foremost, congratulations on being an assistant tour manager or a tour manager, because, you're about to embark on a great journey traveling around the United States, representing, a specific company who is the client. And you're going to be the face of their tour, as well as, the other people of the other brand ambassadors who are working regionally from stop to stop. They're going to be the face of the tour. You know what I mean? Now, like its namesake, the tour manager is the manager. That's the head guy, right? That's the guy who's like the coach. You know what I mean? He calls all the shots. He gets all the responsibility. He's the one that, is responsible for making sure that things are on the up and up when it comes to like making sure that, hey, I got to get in contact with the point of contact of the person that is in charge of the location where we're going. You know what I mean? And I have to make sure that everyone is accountable for in terms of like the people that are going to be working that day. We got to make sure that all the staging is correct and so forth, and that's important. You know what I mean? He's definitely like the 3-star general for sure. You know what I mean? Or the 4-star general, really. That's the bottom line right there. And of course, below him is the assistant tour manager, which he basically takes on about a half of what the tour manager does. Not as much responsibility, but still there is a fair amount of responsibility. There's still a lot of, missions that he has on his plate that he has to deal with himself, him or herself. Let's be, equal, and let's be honest. And it's great because, when you actually apply for those type of positions and make it, you basically beat out a whole bunch of talented, candidates that would have been suitable for the position. And let's say out of like 20 people, you were like one that made it. So that makes you, in a sense, and I don't mean to, insult people, but that definitely makes you the top tier, of the upper echelon that got selected for whatever reason it could be. It could be that, you have a lot of, tour experience and work experience in this area, in this arena. Maybe they heard a lot about your hard work ethic. Maybe they know you by your reputation and the fact that, you're a really good person that gets the job done and you have a great attitude, and that's wonderful. Whatever your reason of getting the job, you got it. And it's great. Congratulations. You know what I mean? But what happens at that point? Like, where do you go from here? What do I do? What if I'm green and I don't know what to do, and I'm really booked on my first one? Like, what do you do? What is the proper steps and procedures, and what roads do you take? And I'm here to give you a little piece of advice, some words of wisdom, if you will, about the do's and the don'ts, and what you can do on the road, and how to navigate the road, and how to make this experience a little bit more comfortable. So first things first, let's go to the professional side of things. Obviously, once you get in and who's going to be working with you, like if you're an assistant tour manager and there's 2 tour managers, you want to know about those 2 tour managers. You also want to go ahead and give them a phone call and talk to them introduce yourself and say, hey, how you doing? In this case, my name is Kim. How you doing? I will be the assistant tour manager. I'm really looking forward to talking with you some more and hanging out with you some more and so forth. Introduction's good. At that point, you probably want to talk a little bit about like strategy, like going forward about how you want to do things and so forth. Make a little plan before you actually go out to all those tour dates and all those cities and the different parts of the states of the United States of America. Come up with maybe what's your expectation, what's their expectation, etc., etc. Once that's done, then you go out there and you travel. Make sure that, you guys are on the same team, that you guys get along very well, and not with each other, but also with the other staff mates as well. Like the brand ambassadors, you got to make sure that you get along with them, because now you're not a brand ambassador anymore. You're more of a leader. So they're looking up to you to making sure that, hey, am I doing this correctly? Maybe there might be some issues that come along, and they're going to be there on location for whatever reason. It could be something that's technical that affects like the staging. It could be logistics. It just could be a whole rack of things, right? Could be a whole bunch of stuff for sure. By that, you want to make sure that you're on point. You want to make sure that everything is good to go. You want to make sure that you're prepared. So make sure that you're prepared. Make sure that you get along with everyone, for sure. The one last thing that you don't want to be in is in a situation where you're getting involved, in an argument with certain people. It could be management. It could be the brand ambassadors. It has happened before. Not saying that it would happen to me, but I've heard some, dirty tales that has happened. And if that's the case, you need to put yourself in check and make sure that, you're doing your part, because an opportunity like this, you don't want to mess it up. It's always going to look good on a resume if you start and then you finish, and you finish strong, and you continue on, with this campaign with good credit. You know what I mean? If I can say that for a lack of a better term. So, yeah, for sure. Here's one thing that's very important. Before, the day of execution, make sure that you actually turn in a little bit early, because you don't want to stay out late. When you stay out late, it's going to affect your energy. And the more times that you stay up late, let's say you go to sleep at 3 o'clock and then you have to wake up at like 6:30 to, go over to wherever you need to go, where the event is, you might feel not at your best. It's important to get a good night's rest. It's important to, just say, you know what? I know it's 9 o'clock, but let me just sleep now so I can guarantee myself that when I wake up, I'm ready to go, I'm well rested, and I can take on the challenge of anything and everything that may happen on that day. So get that early rest for sure. Once everything is like, let's say if you have free time. Like, let's say, you have some free time before you actually start the event, or you have free time, after, hey, we just wrapped up day one, we're good to go. Or if you're wrapped up, period, and you're ready to leave, the next day, I would say take advantage of your surroundings. And by that, I mean, say, for example, if you're over in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and you got a couple of days before the event, take time to explore, the town, and take a look at some things. Take a look at, what makes that city famous. Like example, if you're over in Minneapolis, you may want to go over to the Mall of America, because that's the biggest mall in the United States of America, and pretty dope if you ask me, being that it's 5 or 6 levels high, and it's also as long as 3 or 4 football fields. It's incredible, and it's quite the sight. And Mall of America, let me tell you something, I've been there. They have a roller coaster in there, like a full-fledged roller coaster. It is flipping incredible. I've I've never seen anything like it, but it's so flippin' awesome. And I look at that and I look back and I'm like, man, that was good times. Or, let's say, for example, if, again, using Minneapolis as an example, maybe I don't want to go to the Mall of America. Maybe I want to take a look at downtown and I just want to see what's going on. We got a couple of days, or guess what? We just finished day 1. I just want to see what's going on. Let me just walk around and explore it and have some fun, And then when you're done, you can always either, if your hotel has one of those things where it's like a courtesy shuttle, or if you can take like an Uber back over to the hotel, take advantage. That's important. Some people, when they travel and they work, they do leave loved ones behind, friends, family. It's always good to, stay in contact and call them and let them know about you, how you're doing. And I had this by experience that when I first started doing a tour way back, I think it was somewhere around, like 2013, 2014. I did a summer tour for Tazo Iced Tea. And, being in New York for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it was a lot. It was fun, but it was a lot. And I admit that, I wanted to contact friends and family members because I was missing home a little bit. So I always made it a thing where, I was in my room after a hard day's work, and I would just go ahead and call people, But if they were like iPhone owners, I could FaceTime them and just let them know how everything is, and just tell them, hey, I'm okay and everything is good, and this is where we're at. And I think the fact that they were listening to the fact that I was okay and they knew that I was safe because I was giving them that verbal indication, that made them feel a little bit comfortable. But it also made me comfortable because it's like I'm reassuring them that I'm okay and everything is good in the world. So there it is, Last but not least, I think most important is just to, have fun in general and just really soak it all in. Because how many times in life can you get a job where you're actually traveling around for like several weeks to several months all over this, the great cities of the United States of America, getting paid on a company dime to sleep in hotels and, getting per diems for meals and so forth. And like literally just, traveling and having fun with it. It's incredible. Let me just put it to you like this. Traveling and being, a tour manager or an assistant tour manager, you make money. You really make money. What you probably make in 2 weeks, they make in a week easily. Very easily. That's why a lot of people love to make this as a high fetched career, of being a tour manager. There are some pros and cons about it. And, I'll give you one of each real quick. The one pro is that you'll make money. You definitely will make money, especially like if you're a tour manager, you're going to make buku money. Assistant tour manager, yeah, you will make money, not as much as like the tour manager themselves, because tour manager obviously higher position, right? But it's still cool because at least with the assistant tour manager, that's a prestigious position. You're getting your name out there. You're getting your work in. You're doing everything that you're doing. And you're having fun and learning. That's the name of the game. Just remember, though, guys, it's very important, and I stress this, very important to really keep, your eye on the prize, be on point, work hard, do your work, and that's it. Whatever it is that they need you to do, take care of it immediately. You know what I mean? By any means necessary, whether if it's closing reports or, you're doing reports about certain people that are working on your team, whether if you're just entering, like, let's say, timesheets and everything like that, get on that. If you need to upload, like, pictures, because you took pictures from like a digital camera. And I know you're saying, wow, pictures from yes, do you take pictures from a digital camera? Because they need to have pictures and images and have that uploaded almost instantly. You know what I mean? So they're really on that. They are super on that. Like they're on it like white on rice. It's that simple. But, if you do your job, if you really just have a good relationship with everybody, if you take everything that you learned and applied it to the position that you're in, and just do whatever it is that's necessary, you're going to land on top. You're going to be on top of the world. I guarantee it. Well, let me go ahead and do what I need to do real quick. We are going to take 5. When we come back, we will come in with the second segment of the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. Do what you need to do, man. Take a break. Go get a water or answer a text or a phone call. Do what's necessary, because the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience is going to be coming back red hot, in full effect, ready to go. See you in a bit. I want to tell you about an amazing store that's really good for all musicians, music enthusiasts, and a whole lot more, which is Chuck Levin's Washington Music Center in Wheaton, Maryland. That's right, you heard it correctly. Since 1958, Chuck Levin's has been actually tearing up the game when it comes to the music scene. And guess what? Since 1958, they have been the store to go to and a must-visit destination for any serious musician passing through our nation's capital. So, if you're actually a person that's in a band looking for a new instrument, such as an electric guitar, an acoustic guitar, a bass guitar, or maybe some drums, if you're a DJ looking for like the greatest DJ equipment, such as turntables and so forth, they got you. Hey, are you actually in an orchestra playing a woodwind instrument, brass instrument, or strings? They got you. They got all the classical instruments that you need. And let's not forget, for all my fellow podcasters, need a microphone? They got you. Need a podcasting vocal track recorder? They got you. They got everything, man. And I'm telling you, it's the best place to go. So if you want to check them out, go ahead and do so, because right here at Chuck Levin's, they're the best. Forget the rest. Mess with the best. Located over at 11151 Veers Mill Road in Wheaton, Maryland. They're open Monday through Saturdays, 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. If you want to know more about what they have to offer, you can go over to chucklevins.com online or give them a buzz at area code 301-946-8808. Chuck Levin's Washington Music Center. Like I said before, don't worry about the rest. Mess with the best.
And now, back to the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience with your host, Kim Hoang.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. Glad that you're back. If you took a break, I was really happy for you that you took a break and so forth. And, it's great. Sometimes we need to relax. We need to recuperate. We need to do whatever it is that we need to do to recharge and so forth. So, I get it, man. I get it. This next segment I'm going to go into, I didn't really want to talk about it, but I felt like it's something that I feel like it's a message for people in general. I'm not going to say that this applies to every single person out there, because I don't know. You know what I mean? I always try to see the good in people. I've always tried to see, like, the positive and never the negative. Because I feel like, life is too short to be a negative Nancy or a negative Norman. You know what I mean? And if you come with that type of energy, and if you come in with that type of stuff and that feeling, if that type of, aura and energy and whatnot, that's just a real bad place to be in. But recently, I've come across certain things that I've read online, and I've actually also seen it, like, maybe like it's not like real, but it's like, an acting segment about the situation that I'm going to talk about, which is what I like to call workout bullies. Now, we all try to do workouts in our own way, right? And we do it for a lot of reasons. We want to be a little bit healthier because sometimes maybe we might have some kind of, condition that is compromising our health, or maybe they want to be in better health even though that they're already in good health, and rightfully so. Some people want to do it for, like, to be a little bit more stronger and feel like they're empowered. Some people do it for the fact that it's good for their mental health and so forth. And whatever reason that the people do workouts in their own way, in their own manner, and the type of workouts that they choose, I'm not going to dispute that. I am not going to make fun of people for that. I think it's incredible. I think it's wonderful. And I think it's great that people do whatever it is that they need to do in order to make themselves better, right? But it's a known fact that when it comes to workouts, it really depends on certain people, because there's some people who are, blessed to have that physical ability to really push beyond their limits. Like, example, and I'm just using this as an example. I don't know, if this is the right, if this is the right way to throw in an analogy, but say, for example, you're a guy that's in really super good shape, and you got a great physique, and you can bench press, like, I don't know, I'm going to throw a number, 300 pounds, right? If you can bench 300 pounds, that's great, more power to you. You took the time and you took the effort to really work up to that stage of your workout life. And that's awesome. But, when I see or hear something like those same individuals that make fun of others because they don't have that ability yet to, bench 300 pounds and just really rub it in their faces, that I do have a problem with. And the reason that being is that just because you have that ability and you feel like you need to boast and brag about it, towards other people, so that you can feel good, I feel like, what is the point of that besides the fact that you're acting like a real Class A jerk? Really. If I was doing something and I did it better than other people, I'm not going to really rub it in their face. I would just be a little bit more proactive and more positive and say something in the terms of like, hey, you'll eventually get it. All you have to do is work step by step and, eventually you'll get there. Or unless it's something that, that's not your goal, but you want to kind of, do something else in that respect and still keep it, in that theme where it's like really defined and you're really getting some exercise, then by all means, that is a great, great thing. Keep at it. That's cool. And I hear, these stories, these, awful nightmare stories about, workout bullies and trying to impose their will. And for a lack of a better term, once again, this is not aimed towards every single person because it may not be you, but it might, there might be some people, there might be some grapes in the bunch that, unfortunately kind of ruined it. Where like they would just, once again, flex their will showing out their physique and shooting out their guns, as they would say, and just make them feel like there's that they're inferior and they're not up to their standard. Guys, we are built different. As human beings, we are built different. Some people can actually do it with ease. Some people cannot. And for some of those, maybe some of them cannot because of a lot of reasons. Maybe it's because they have a physical condition that unfortunately they can't go that distance. I know there's certain people who have congestive heart failures that do their best of trying to, work on their cardio, but they can't run because it's too much pressure on the heart, so they try to do other type of exercises cardio-wise to kind of compensate for it while still having, good exercise and blood flow and so forth. And all I have to say is this: if you are a victim of being bullied because, your workouts are not good, not quote unquote effective, and you don't have those results like the other people, number one, I feel really bad about that, and I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. You don't deserve that. You have a situation where you're just trying to work out, to get yourself healthy and to do it by any which way you can. Whether if you're walking a treadmill for about 5 miles, whether if you're just like lifting weights, but they're like, maybe 5 or 10 pounds, which is okay. That's fine. If you're trying to bench press weight, but you can only bench press like maybe 45 or 50 pounds, there's no judgment in that. At least you're lifting something, you know what I mean? Or let's say, for example, you're doing sit-ups, right? But you can't do 100. You might be able to do, at best, 25. And maybe it's like, okay, this hour I'm going to do 25. Maybe the next hour I'll do another 25. And then the next hour I'm going to do another 25. And that's okay. I think the most important thing for anybody that works out and tries their best is just to be consistent and do the best you can. You never want to go overboard. You never want to say, because I'm being bullied and, people think that my workout routine is not the best, maybe I need to do something really drastic. Maybe I do need to go ahead and start bench pressing like 325 right away. No, that is a terrible, terrible thing to do, and that might put your body in jeopardy. And for those that are affected by that type of bullying, the only thing I can say honestly is, like, number one, let me reassure you that you're doing okay. You're out there doing the best that you can. You're out there exercising. That's better than most people, right? Because you're trying to get the blood moving. You're trying to get yourself in a better position. You're trying to get yourself in better health. That's why people are exercising, mostly. The other stuff, like, trying to get your mind right, to have your mental health in a good state by doing some physical workout, that's awesome. If you're trying to work out like some kind of physical aggression, or just like aggression that's like still stuck with you in your body and you need to release it, cool. You know what I mean? As long as you're doing your routine, your exercise, and you're being consistent with it, and you're doing the very best that you can, more power to you. More power to you. I would not knock anybody for that. I think that some form of exercise in some way, and it doesn't have to be like, with heavy weights, but in some way, that's better than most, right? For sure. Now, if you happen to be that type of person, unfortunately, where you're actually making fun of other people, at their expense, just so that you're a little bit happy, number one, shame on you. Shame on you. That's something that nobody needs to have right now in their lives. They just don't want that. They're trying really hard to get themselves in a better position in life. You know what I mean? And the fact that you're trying to basically, throw them down in the dirt and make them feel like the lowest common denominator on the planet, well, shame on you, man. You know what I mean? There's always going to be somebody that's better than someone else, right? And we all don't want to have that feeling where, like, somebody's going to throw jabs at us because we can't lift 325 or we can't run 10 miles or we don't have that type of flexibility or we can't swim for days or bike for days or etc. etc. No, you wouldn't like that. So why would you do that? So for all of those people, let me just say this. If you are doing the bullying, you need to stop. You know what I mean? It's not cool. It's not fair. It doesn't earn you any cool points. You know, it only in the end, yeah, you may feel like a little bit better because you're just making yourself feel better by, you know, making fun of somebody that's like physically inferior. But let me tell you something. Karma is going to come back at you, and karma is a real thing. So if you think that you can get away with it scot-free and nothing bad is going to happen to you, pal, you got another thing coming. Rest assured on that. Somebody's going to get you. Somebody will get you for sure. And once again, you know, I just want to say to anybody that's going through those you know, terrible emotions of getting insulted, you know, and made fun of because, oh, I can't do it and so forth. Again, I'm really sorry for that. I truly am. And the only thing I can say is keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep exercising. Keep doing the best that you can. Keep shooting for, you know, keep shooting for the moon. Because, you know, if you miss, you're still amongst the stars. So, you know, you're doing the best that you can, and you're putting in the time and the effort that you can in order to get yourself in a better sense of health. And if that's the case, and, you know, you're doing your very best and you're working hard at it every single time, you know, again, I salute you. I salute you. So for all of them, you know, keep your head up. You know, the results will come. It takes time. You know, Rome wasn't built in a day. It literally takes a lot of time to lay down the bricks of the foundation to start. And then once you lay down that foundation, then you can start building from the ground up. And as long as you do that, and as long as you do the best that you can, as long as, you know, you're able to, you know, do a little bit every single day when it comes to exercising and getting your body right and making your health a little bit more better for the longevity, fantastic. Don't worry about what those, you know, workout warriors say, those quote-unquote meatheads. You know, they don't know nothing. They don't. So do the exercise that you love, whether if it's like lifting light weights or walking 10 miles or doing yoga or doing anything of that sort. As long as you're physically active and getting something and doing something, even as like if you're riding a bike around the neighborhood, that's exercising. That's building results. It's slowly and surely building results, but it's building results. That's what we're aiming for, and that's what we're shooting for. That's all I got to say. And, you know, just know that for all of you guys that are working out and doing the best you can, just know that you have my love and support. I definitely will pray for you. Absolutely. And I hope that whatever results that you're looking for, that you will eventually achieve it. You'll get exactly what you want out of it. And you'll feel good knowing that, hey, I did exactly what I said I was going to do. I said that I was going to work out, and I did it. And I said that I was going to build the results in a slow rate, but it's getting there. Fantastic. You know, job well done. But let me go ahead and take a break. When we come back, the Q&A session. That's right, the Q&A forum. That's right. Your favorite segment in mind. You ask them questions, and I will answer it, and it'll be amazing. Do what you need to do. Take a break because, you know, when you do and you return, it's on. Guaranteed. We'll see you in a bit.
In life, we all want to have great health and excellent physical fitness. However, it's never given, only earned. That said, if you want to go to a gym that will help you to get there, then look no further than Kicked Up Fitness at National Business Parkway in Annapolis Junction, Maryland. Their mission at Kicked Up is to provide the ultimate functioning training facility that focuses solely on your success, with a diverse team that's highly qualified and dedicated to taking your fitness goals to the next level. Kicked Up also offers a variety of group classes and personal training programs that provide something for everyone, regardless of your fitness level. They believe in working hard, achieving results, all while having fun. So come visit their facility in person, which is located at 114 National Business Parkway, Suite 100 in Annapolis Junction, Maryland, 20701. Now, if you see my friend Sean Queen, who's the owner of Kicked Up, tell him that Benny Chow of Miscalculated sent you, and he'll hook you up with a complimentary 7-day pass just to try it out. Need more info? Give him a call. 410-888-9066. Email them at kufitnessnbp@gmail.com or visit them at their website at www.kufitnessnbp.com. Kicked Up Fitness. Never given, only earned.
And now, back to the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience with your host, Kim Hoang.
Yo, welcome back, everybody, to the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. You know what time it is. It is that time. You know, we've done a great episode, and we're actually getting to this very moment of closing with a great segment. But before we get into all that, let me give you the usual disclaimer that the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience is asking help on a voluntary basis to anyone out there that would like to assist our podcast show by the ways of, sponsorship and or financially donating to our podcast show to help make the quality of our podcast show that much better. All the proceeds that we raise will go towards, getting more equipment and better equipment that we need, such as, extra microphones for our in-studio guests, the XLR cables that are associated with those microphones, also, maybe headphones for our in-studio guests, and even a MacBook Pro, which is the official computer that we use to create great episodes and content of the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience in the best quality that we can. And, whatever that you guys are willing to donate, no matter what the amount is, we appreciate that in every and any sense of the word. So let's say, for example, and I'm going to insert the joke, if you wanted to donate $5 million, which I don't think anyone would want to do that, but you never know, we appreciate that. That would be amazing. We would love you forever, and at that point it would just be like we would be taken care of for quite a while, you know what I mean? So kudos to that. Or even if you donate like $5, that's still okay. That's cool. Any amount helps, and we do appreciate it. Again, it is optional. We don't force people to donate. We just ask that if people want to donate out of the kindness of their hearts, to please do so. And there are methods of how to make a donation. You can go over to PayPal and Venmo and actually donate that way by finding me on my tag name at Kim Hoang MD Actor, which is once again at KIMHOANG MD ACTOR. Or you can donate via Cash App. Again, my tag name on that is the $sign Kim Hoang MD Actor. That's once again $sign KIMHOANG MD ACTOR. And ladies and gentlemen, here we are, the moment you've been waiting for, our Q&A segment, the Q&A forum. questions and answers. Guess what? You ask them questions, and I'm going to do my darndest to go ahead and answer it very well. Obviously, we got a lot of questions today. Normally, we take in 7 because that's the lucky number. Today, you're in for a treat because we have 2 bonus questions added along with it. So we have a grand total of 9 questions. Now, if you're hearing some activity out here and so forth, that's because the weather is so nice today over, in the Washington DC area. I kind of felt like, let's just move operations out from, the prototype studio in Wheaton, Maryland, and let's just go ahead and let's bring it out here. Be a part of the community, be a part of like nature, feeling the sun. It's incredible, and I'm ready to go. So let's do this because we don't have a lot of time. Question number 1, Kim, do you feel that you get more into the martial arts when you get promoted past the first degree black belt rank? Walter from Annapolis, Maryland. Yo, what's up, homeboy? I am from Annapolis, Maryland. That's my hometown. Born and raised. A-town, stay down, man. You know what I mean? It's great. And yes, I do agree with that statement that, you do get more of the martial arts when you get promoted past the first degree black belt rank. Now, I'm not saying that getting, ranked at first degree black belt is like, it's not an achievement, because it is. It definitely signifies that you actually finished what you started, from A to Z, and you've mastered the basics. But to actually say that you're going to have a better understanding of the art, that's when it goes past the first degree black belt. So that's like when you get more in depth of your martial arts education. So say, for example, you just got promoted to a second degree black belt in Shotokan karate. Now you're going to even learn more in depth about what the art is all about, not just at a first degree black belt level. You know what I mean? And I highly encourage a lot of people that, if you have a first degree black belt and you're still physically able to go, that's definitely, my suggestion to you is to keep going and keep training, never stop. When you stop, it's the end. And most people, when they stop training and, they just kind of plateau and just leave it there, 9 times out of 10, they won't come back, you know what I mean? Because at that point, it's a little bit too late. So if you're still physically able, if you're physically able to continue on it, then keep going, you know what I mean? So that's my opinion. Question number 2, Kim, what are your opinions when certain people are in denial and do not seek help for their mental health? Angela from Naples, Florida. Wow, that is, first off, I want to say, Angela, before I continue on, great question. However, you're asking me for my opinion. I am not really an expert in this area, but because you're asking me for my opinion, please know that it is what it says, an opinion. It's not fact. So if anybody out there is going to be yelling at me for my possible response to this question, that's not the right way to handle it, and that's not the right forum. Because again, somebody asked me about an opinion, I'm going to give an opinion. As simple as that. Real talk, I would say this. If somebody are in denial and do not seek help for their mental health, that's their choice. It really is. However, though, if we dissect it, there are probably reasons behind that. They probably feel like they don't have a problem and they're just going to continue living on life how they see fit. Or if they find out something like, you do have a mental health challenge and a mental health, barricade in front of you, they're afraid to face that fact and to work through it. You know what I mean? Do I think that it's important to seek help when you have a mental health challenge? Yeah, sure. I think that's really important. I think it's when you do seek help, it will remedy a lot of situations, and I think that it will put out a lot of fires rather than, you leaving it untreated or you trying to figure it out, quote unquote, in your own way. So that is my opinion on that matter. I certainly hope, and I say this with, again, the key element, I certainly hope that if people do have a mental health struggle, if they have some kind of a mental health challenge or so forth, that they do seek the help that they need and that they actually take care of it in a proper way, with the help of trained professionals, because your health is important. Question number 3, Kim, I understand that you used to be a cigarette smoker. When did you know that it was time to quit? Jason from Raleigh, North Carolina. Jason, good question. I really felt like I knew it was time for me to quit when I knew that I felt like my body was in a situation where it wasn't really, really good anymore. It was really rough on my lungs. It was really hard to breathe a lot of times. Trying to recover from being sick took a lot longer than it needed to be. And I just felt like at that point, I need to go. I need to get the heck out of Dodge. I really, really do. Because if I don't quit now, my body is going to suffer later on in life. And thank goodness that I did, because, as you get older, you're definitely going to have more physical health challenges, which I am. But knowing that I quit smoking cigarettes, I think it just gives me a little bit more of a longer longevity. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I do feel about it. I basically had stopped since 2013, I believe. So yeah, I feel really good about it. I don't feel bad. I feel great. I know that that was probably the best decision that I've made, and I don't look back at it. I feel good. I feel real good about it. Question number 4, Kim, what is the better food option? Commercialized diners like Denny's and IHOP, or the local mom and pop shop diners? Amaya from Wheeling, West Virginia. Amaya, I've always liked the mom and pop shop diners because I feel like they do food, especially breakfast food, that much better. There is a diner that I normally go to in Annapolis, Maryland, of my old hometown when I'm around, and it's called, let me see if I remember correctly, the Double T Diner, which is on West Street in Annapolis, Maryland. Now, I'm just using that as an example. In the area, there is an IHOP, there is a Denny's, but that, something about the Double T Diner is incredible, absolutely incredible. I like it. I think the food is excellent. They definitely make food a lot better in those places than I think the commercialized diners, because I feel like they put a lot more love and more passion into it. That's just my opinion. Question number 5, Kim, what is your favorite band musically? Alvin of Lake Charles, Louisiana. Wow. If we're talking about music band and not a solo artist, then I could easily answer this. I love Incubus. Incubus is a great band. I've been following them since the late 90s when they came out. I have been a fan of Incubus for a long time. So it's nothing he thinks it's a fad for a band. No, I love their stuff musically. They're incredible. And, I can tell you that it goes back to, I used to, what was it? There was a album called Fungus Among Us back in 1995 that really started it out for me. You know what I mean? And I thought that was really incredible. That was really, really cool. And of course, in 97, the Science of Things, I think that's what it was called. And then later on in 1999, the Make Yourself album. Then the Morning View album in 2001, and it just kept on going on and on and on. That band to me has a place in my heart. I've seen them in concert many a times, I think at least 6 times, and they're freaking incredible, man. Freaking incredible. I like them. I love them. You know what I mean? And I think it's really, really awesome. So I'm just going to leave it at that, for sure. All right, so we are now on question number 6. Kim, is it okay to make mistakes in podcasting? Jillian from Sandusky, Ohio. Jillian, I think it's okay to make those mistakes. I think it's all right because, if you make a mistake, it just shows how human you are, and I think that we don't really grow as podcasters unless we make mistakes and learn from them. And there's going to be times that, let's say, for example, and I'm going to do it on purpose, that I do something here, blah, 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 hey, and, I make a mistake. But what I really mean to say is, and blah, 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 and the secret is that, just keep going. Keep going, fake it till you make it. A lot of people that I know are very forgiving when you make a mistake, and it's not the end of the world. You know what I mean? It's okay. I've made mistakes before in my lifetime when it comes to doing podcasting stuff, and there's some things that I wish I would have took back, but I feel like if I didn't make those mistakes, then I really would not be able to become the podcaster that I am today. After 4 years, I'm still going to make mistakes regardless, but it's whether or not you can keep going or you let it define you. So that's my take on it. That's my take on it. I got nothing else to say about it. So if that's you, where you are a podcaster and you're making mistakes, it's okay, it's all forgiven in the name of the Father and the Son. Question number 7 before we get to the bonus round. Kim, what are your thoughts of people no longer speaking to certain people anymore or other people anymore? Christopher from Independence, Missouri. Oh my gosh. Christopher, I will say this, and let me go ahead and say this. Let me say it in this way. If you're not speaking to anybody anymore, no matter if it's a friend, family members, or whatnot, there has to be some kind of reason. There could be a lot of reasons, Maybe the person that they were speaking to was very negative towards them, and it could be something of that sense where, because you're being negative towards me, it's not a good thing for my mental health and so forth. So guess what? I'm just going to say, I'm going to stop talking to you. Or it could be a thing where, somebody did something that was what they felt like was so wrong and so unforgivable that there's no way in the world that they're going to speak to them ever again. And other times, it's just people feel like, there's some bad energy, and it's rough, man. It's just not a real cool moment. And the way that I see it is if that's what they feel, if that's what they want to do, that's their choice. I don't think there's any right or wrong, as long as that person makes that decision for themselves and, they're in a safe place. We don't want to be in a position where, you make a mistake and it's going to be costly in the terms of your safety and your well-being. Number one, if you want to stop talking to them because you want to feel a little bit safe and it's good for your mental health, I support that. If you feel like, there's nothing there anymore because you just feel like, the juice is no longer worth the squeeze, that's also fine. Nobody can make you talk to another person ever again. That's got to be a situation where you and said person have to work that stuff out, and you have to make that happen. I've known a lot of people stop talking to many people, whether it's friends, whether if it's family, over just like, it could be over like the littlest thing. It could be like a bigger thing that, maybe I don't know and maybe I'm not allowed to mention. But the point is that if they want to do that, they want to stop that relationship and they don't want to talk anymore, and if the beef is so big and grandiose, then so be it. Let it ride. All I can do is that, if that person doesn't bother me and that person doesn't bother me, and I'm cool with them, each of those individuals, guess what? I'm okay with that, because I don't have an issue with that person and I don't have an issue with that person. So my love for the both of them is going to be cool and it's fine. So no harm, no foul. Now we are in the bonus round and I am excited. It is a good feeling to have this moment, you know what I mean? And it's incredible. It's lovely. So here we go, guys, in no particular order. Question number 8. Kim, how good is it for you to walk every day and just say, you know what? I'm proud of what I do. Paul from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I feel happy knowing the decisions that I made in life in general. I'm proud to be, number one, I'm proud to be a podcaster. I'm proud to be a local film actor in the local filming industry of the DMV. I'm proud of being a martial artist. All of these things make me happy. I'm proud for the opportunities that I've took upon myself in terms of the jobs that I've worked, and even like working in the local, promo industry, and sometimes even working, an actual tour, working a campaign tour, traveling all around the United States of America. It makes me happy and it makes me great. It makes me feel great knowing that I did that. I can walk right now in the middle of the street being happy knowing that I've accomplished that. And I'm just hoping from that point I will continue to keep on making great opportunities and more opportunities, because I feel like if there's anyone that deserves it, it definitely is me, because I feel like I have that potential and I have the ability to do it. It's just me trying to achieve it and go for mine and earning it. But either way, I mean, win or lose, I feel happy. I feel like a real winner. So I at that point I would just say, hey, not many people can do exactly what I do, and I can do it, and I proved it, and I did it. And the fact that, I get a smile on my face and, I can hang that on my resume, it feels great. Feels great. Question number 9, and the last question of it all. Kim, what do you like about competing in martial art tournaments? Melissa from Lansing, Michigan. There's a lot of things that I loved about, going to tournaments and competing in tournaments, One, I went over there to really test myself to see if my knowledge was just as strong or maybe a little bit stronger. Because it's one thing to go ahead and do things for your school, and like if you do a sparring class to spar, your fellow students. It's another thing to go out there, competing out there on the road and testing, your knowledge and your ability against, other people of other schools and other disciplines of myriad style of ranks. And I feel like, it's good for you. You'll never really grow into your art that much unless you actually start experimenting and testing what you know. You know what I mean? And I think that's a real important thing for sure. And I like it. I think it's great. I also like the fact that, when I travel, eventually I'm going to see some of my fellow classmates from the same school. We're all there to support each other, see their success, and see how well they did. And, we celebrate we celebrate like a unit. We celebrate our successes. We embrace, the shortcomings. We're there as a family, and it's great. It's a definite, team unity. And I think that many people, if you don't go and compete out there, especially like if you have other people from your school competing alongside with you, or at least in the same event or in the same tournament, I don't think that you'll really understand the cool experience and the fun experience that you'll have. And then afterwards, when the tournament is over, you have like the I guess like the unofficial after party, the celebration, just to celebrate a job well done of just competing. And if you earned like a third place or a second place, that's cool. We celebrate that too. But if not, we just celebrate the fact that we were alive and we were doing our thing, and then we competed and did our best. So, boom, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. We are done. A great episode is in the books. I'm really happy about it. It's incredible. And I just want to say thank you so much, guys, for taking the time out to, hang out with me, to be in this episode with me, and just to do it. Because I always say that, this podcast is just not my podcast. It's your podcast too. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, I truly believe that, you guys definitely make it happen. You guys are also, you got a say in the matter. So it's also in the same sense, you guys are like my bosses too. Let's be real about it. So thank you for that. Real quick, as friendly reminders that we are on a lot of social media pages. Find us on Facebook and go ahead and go to the search box and find the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. In that search box, like it and follow it, and we do appreciate it. We are also on Twitter, now known as X, and on Instagram. Find us at our tag name, TKHPC Experience. Once again, that is at TKHPC Experience. Lowercase letters, no spacing, no punctuations. You follow me and I'll follow you back. We are on 6 podcasting platforms, and it is incredible. And you can find us on any of those 6 podcasting platforms. Example, we are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, Audible, and iHeartRadio. Now, do me a favor. If you're on Spotify and you listen to us on Spotify, please give us a 5-star ranking. We definitely would appreciate that. It is amazing. If you are on Apple Podcasts, meaning you listen to us on the Apple Podcast app through your iPhone, your iPad, or maybe your MacBook Pro or something like that, please give us a 5-star ranking and a positive written review, because the more positive written reviews, and also the 5-star rankings that we get per those podcasting platforms, that means our podcast has more of a chance to be thrown in the front of the line and get noticed. And then, people might say, yo, the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience, I heard about that. Randy told me about this, and he told me that I should like the podcast, follow it, and subscribe to it. Yes, yes, and yes. Please like, follow, and subscribe to our podcast and all of those mentioned podcasting platforms. We do appreciate that. Whether if you want to share it on your social media, like the Facebook or the Instagram or the Twitter, now known as X. We also have Snapchat, and there's also the TikTok. Share it on that. That would be amazing. We would love that. Or share it with your, in person with your friends, your family members, like your dad, your mom, your brother, your sister, your auntie, your uncle, your cousins, or the dude next door that might be a fan of podcasts in general. You can just say, yo, I heard about the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience, and it is amazing. Yes, Absolutely. Thank you. And here's the thing. If you want to be a guest on our show, if you want to be a guest host on our show, if you have any questions on our Q&A session, or if you have any constructive criticisms, please email me at the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience at gmail.com. Whatever the subject is, put it on the subject box. We'll go ahead and we'll take care of it. We will see what happens. Write whatever it is that you need to write in the body of it. Send that out, and I will read it, and I'll get back to you within maybe a day or two, because I do like the communication in that in that method. That's all we got, ladies and gentlemen. That is it. I want to say thank you once again to everybody out there. Recording outdoors, outside of the prototype studio is pretty dope, and the fact that we're out here, it's perfect weather, it's nice, I'm feeling the breeze, I'm feeling the comfort, it's amazing. I'm liking it. I'm really liking it, and I just want to say thank you guys for everything that you do. It's incredible. I will continue to do my best for you guys, because you deserve that. You really do. And as long as you want me to keep doing these podcast episodes, I will keep doing it for you until I literally can't anymore, until the wheels fall off and I physically am unable to do it. You know what I mean? So please be careful out there, and please be safe out there, because it doesn't do us any good if you do something that you're not supposed to do, and it lands you inside of a pine box and you get buried 6 feet under. We don't want that to happen. We want you to be healthy. We want you to be happy. We want you to be living life, because that's the situation. That's where it's at. You know what I mean? Positivity is the best way. Never be negative. You know what I'm saying? So for the one time, here over in Wheaton, Maryland, at the Prototype Studios, at least in this portion, the outdoors version of the Prototype Studios. This is your boy, Kim Hoang, the Asian sensation, your host with the most, the man with the plan, the guy that can bring the power in an hour, maybe less, and the dude with the right attitude, saying thank you, I appreciate it, I love y'all, and we will see you again soon on another episode of the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. It's been real, guys. I love y'all. Be safe, be well, and let's do it again real soon. All right? I'm out of here. Peace.